772162651 tingashanda sei nemaparliamentarians edu kuti tirwise nhamo iyi kana kuti problem ye-gender based violence ndezvipi zvamunoda kuti vakuitirei kuparliament, ungava mutemo ungava chii, kuti zvitaurwe representation iyo yavanoita ikoko. Saka pa 0772162651 ndo pamunogona kupinzawo mameseji enyu ekubatsirana nemahonorable kuti tirwise nyaya ye-violence, gender based violence. Can we get an overview of the Zimbabwe Women Parliamentary Caucus and its objectives? I'll turn to Honorable Mbowa for that one. The Zimbabwe Women Parliamentary Caucus and its objectives.
Thank you, George. When we are talking about the Zimbabwe Women Parliamentary Caucus, let me give you a brief background. We've got what we call the SADC Parliamentary Forum, and at the SADC Parliamentary Forum, there came an issue which was raised of the gender imbalances between disadvantaged groups. We are talking about boys, girls, and women. So they agreed that every country in the SADC should come up with a Women Parliamentary Caucus. So we responded to the SADC agreement in 2001. That's when we started our own Zimbabwe Women Parliamentary Caucus. You might want to know who constitutes the Women Parliamentary Caucus.
Please go ahead.
It's all the women parliamentarians in the House of Assembly. That is both the National Assembly and the Senate. When we're talking about the Parliamentary Caucus, we are above board. We don't talk about politics. We talk about women issues only. So when you see us in the caucus, just see women who are fighting for women issues. The main aim, in summary or objectives, is that we fight for gender imbalance. We want some sort like of a gender equality among disadvantaged groups. We're talking about boys, we're talking about girls, we're talking about women, and of course men, but they're the ones who are dominating, as you know. So mostly we fight for women issues, and we, as he has rightfully said, Honorable Molokelo, they are now fighting in our corner as men, and fighting so that women issues can also be recognized in parliament and even in the whole nation. So in short, I can say that we are a caucus who are advocating for gender equality among the disadvantaged, in summary.
Wonderful, the unity of women to fight gender-based violence, irrespective of the political parties. But I might also want to understand what is gender-based violence, especially in the Zimbabwe context. If any one of the honorables can respond to that, your understanding of gender-based violence in the Zimbabwean context.
Gender-based violence is a violence which is normally done by people who are close to an individual. Perpetrators are normally relatives. They are either husbands, they are either strangers who are close to the victims. And this type of violence is based on gender roles. The idea of looking at someone as a woman, and as you might have heard or might have read, the majority of the perpetrators are men who tend to cause violence against women.
That is Honorable Flora Buka there. She's a caucus member. What are some of the key challenges faced by women in Zimbabwe when it comes to GBV? I know that you have talked about a little bit about it, and we have also recognized that unfortunately males are the main perpetrators. But what are some of the key challenges faced by women in Zimbabwe when it comes to GBV?
Thank you so much. I think everyone knows that Zimbabwe is one of the most patriarchal countries in the world at the moment. Our society is founded on the promotion of the male gender at the expense of the female gender. So traditionally, culturally, religiously, administratively, everything is in favor of the male gender. So in line with the expectations of our national constitution, especially Section 56, which provides a strong framework in terms of promotion of gender equality, and Section 17, which also tasks the state to ensure that women are not excluded but are included, as traditionally it has been in Zimbabwe. All the positions of authority in this country, all companies, all institutions of government are dominated by male gender. So we need to make sure that we achieve 50% gender equality. So for women, when they want to report issues, for example, around gender-based violence, they find that whoever they report to has a patriarchal bias. Whoever is in authority has got a male gender perspective, and they do not have the capacity to understand the issues from a female point of view. So it's important that we recognize first and foremost that the whole institutional framework, even when you are responding to the Zimbabwe Republic Police, you are responding to all institutions of government and state, we need to change how they view gender-based violence in such a way that they encourage women to come out and vote and report, because sometimes when they report their cases, the process leads to them being further victimized, being even further abused for even reporting, or maybe families gather and then they resolve the issue, but in such a way that it does not really address the concern of the female gender and it favors the male gender. So it's a very difficult setup at the moment for Zimbabwean women.
Godfrey Chamoto is so happy with this program. Hanzi ndotenda nedzidziso yakakosha kudai ya TD Mirijonga munyika yekwedu. Godfrey Chamoto pa Stepford. You can also send your message on WhatsApp platform 0772162651. Mirijonga mudzimba matinofamba matinoshanda yodzikiswa sei, yopera sei, tichibatana nema honorable members of parliament atinawo munomu. Tina Honorable Maybe Mbowa, she's the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Parliamentary Women Caucus. Tina Honorable Daniel Molokele, he's also a he for she champion. Honorable Futi kuwange ukondo kwa vanomirira but panyaya iyi vakamirira munhu wese muZimbabwe. Uyezve tina Honorable Flora Buka, she's a caucus member and member of parliament futi ku National Assembly uko. Ma messages enyu 0772162651 toita sei kuti Mirijonga ipere. Takatarisa 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. What specific initiatives or programs has the caucus undertaken to address GBV in Zimbabwe? Ndeape maprogram amunawa muri kuita kuti mubatsire kurwisa iyo nyaya ye-GBV mu Zimbabwe?
Thank you, George. Yeah, it's quite difficult. Like what Honorable Molokele said, that you know, some live with gender, but they cannot say it. They cannot say it out. They cannot report, you know, because of our patriarchal beliefs that, you know, anatete vakazoti vanomangarira hanzvadzi yavo vototama musha. So it's so difficult, definitely, to say we can reduce gender once and for all, but we have to try by all means. That's why we are there as the Women Caucus. And what we are going to do is, here we are on radio, we are on air. It's one way of telling people, those who are living with the gender, with violence, that no, you should not fear. You should go and report. You should not fear. Go to the police, say it out. Make noise about it. Vamwe vanoti unogona kuenda negwe pasi uchinoti vedu ingotaurai kuti pamba apa pane zviri kuitika, so that usaite sekuti ndiwo wazvitaura. So I think zvinoda kuti zvishandiswe umwe mukana wekuti zvinyatsokubatsira vanhu. Now the thing is, tataura kuti which ways can you do as a caucus. I've talked about the A, which we are doing now. We've got awareness programs that we go down to the roots, and we tell the people to be aware of the issues, the gender-based violence. And we also have some road shows whereby we just move, you know, talking about the importance of reporting cases, and even to tell people what is really gender-based violence. Because, you know, people, some, they don't even know what is gender-based violence. umwe akambunyikidzwa pabonde haatozivi kuti its violence, umwe akatoharaswa sexual haatozivi kuti its violence, umwe akashungurudzwa chaiko psychological, cyber violence, whatever you may say it. So it's like we need to make them aware what is gender-based violence. So it's through programs, awareness programs, and we are advocating for bills and acts through parliament. That's why we have the he for she, so that they can help us to push these bills in parliament, getting the support from our male counterparts. Because if we just say pasine violence but tisina mitemo inotitsigira, vanongoramba vachita because nothing will be done to them.
We are going to talk about legislative reforms or policy changes that the caucus is advocating to address GBV. But let me go through some of the messages before I'm overwhelmed here. My messages are kupinda. Hi, George. More needs to be done to protect men. Also on issues to do with the gender-based violence, it seems more emphasis is being put on women only. Most people, when they hear of the word gender, they link it to women, of which that is wrong. Our he for she champion is going to respond to that, and more needs to be done to protect men also. Another message here. Say no kumirijonga ambunyikidzwa kodzero ngasungwe ndi boss tsatsa pabindura apo. Okay, thanks for the informative program. Honorable Mboa is a very energetic politician. I'm happy she is in the caucus. May she now transfer that abandoned energy to the noble cause. I like her energy, maybe because I'm a neutral citizen. That is George from Arlington Estate in Harare. Panafarira energy, ya chairperson panapa. Mucha respond ndodangoti ndingoverenga ma message timbo clear. I wonder. And I hope these panelists talk about the rate of divorce in relation to the gender equality. Everything has advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantages being trivialized to champion the purpose. I think the disadvantages are overlooked. So these are some of the messages. I'll go through some of them again later. But let's just respond to the issues that were raised by our listeners, and also the question I had asked about the legislative reforms or policy changes that the caucus is pushing to address GBV more effectively. You want to start, Honorable Buka?
Yes, ndanga ndiri kuda kutaura kuti panyaya dzezvemutemo iripo yokuti vanhu vagare zvakanaka mudzimba nekukurudzira kuti kusaite mhirizhonga. Tagara tinotori nemutemo unonzi Domestic Violence Act unotaura nezvekushungurudzwa kwevanhu mudzimba, kushungurudzwa maererano nokurohwa chaiko, uchibonderedzwa, uchirohwa, vamwe vachirohwa nemakebhuru emagetsi, vamwe vachitemwa nematemo. Titori nemutemo unotaura nezvazvo. Mutemo unotaura zvakare nenyaya yekuti munhu anogona kushungurudzwa nokunyimwa mari, yatingati economic violence. Anonyimwa mari yekushandisa, hausi kusevenza, ndini ndinosevenza, saka iwewe panapa ukodzeri kuva nemari. Saka muri iyoyo mudzimai anozoshaya chokushandisa mudzimba. Umwe anogona kushungurudzwa nemaringe kutukwa nemashoko anodzimba. Ndiwo anogona kupedzisira amudzidzisa kuti izvo panapa ndatotambudzika nekuti mazuya anenge achishandisigwa anenge akanyanya kumudzamira. Saka tine mutemo weDomestic Violence Act, tine Sexual Offences Act zvakare inotaura nezvekumbunyikidzwa kwemunhu pabonde, kuti munhu afanirwi kumbunyikidzwa pabonde. Munofanirwa kuita kuwirirana, kunzwisisana pakati pamai nababa, kwete kuti dzimweni dzenguva mai vari kurwara, baba vari kungosimbirira bonde. Dzimweni dzenguva baba vave nechirwere, vari kusimbirira kuti dai vaita bonde naamai asi vasina kuzvivharidzira, vozopedzisira vapa mai chirwere. Saka tine mutemo iwoyo zvakare uri pakati pemutemo yedu. Tiri kuenderera mberi nekuda kugadzirisa imwe mitemo inoenderana nezvekuwanikwa kwevana vadiki, kuti hatizvitarisiri, nekuti muri kutomubunyikidza mwana iyeye, nekuti izvo nhengo dzake dzinenge dzasati dzasvika pakugamuchira baba. Tiri kuzotarisa futi mutemo unoenderana nezvirema, kune vamwe vana baba vanofunga kuti kana akamanikidzira munhu anorwara pfungwa kuita bonde, chirwere chainacho chinobva chapera kana kuti anobva aita mari. Saka mitemo yose iyoyo inoenderana nekupedza mhirizhonga mudzimba tiri kuitarisa tichida kuiwedzera kuti inyatsosimbaradzwa kuti tishayiwe mhirizhonga tive nerunyararo mukati menyika. Ndoda kungopedzisira nokutaura kuti pane ataura kuti kune madzimai ndiwo ari kungotarisiwa chete, aiwa kwete. Isusu semadzimai ari kuCaucus tinotarisa madzimai tichitaura chokwadi kuti vanonyanya kurohwa mudzimba nokuitigwa mhirizhonga madzimai. Asi yezvino kwave nemukurumbira wevarume vakati wandei vari kurohwawo nemadzimai zvekutoshayiwa mufaro. Ndaive ndichitoverenga rimwe zuva kuti kune murume wechipurisa akatorohwa kusvika anovanda kupolice station achitiza mudzimai wake.
Tinotenda zvikuru Honorable Buka nemashoko enye kutsanangura a raft of measures that Parliament is going to be pushing through so that we fight the GBV more effectively. Honorable Molekele, just response to some of the messages which came through before I go to another raft of contributions from our listeners.
Okay, 2 points. I think the first one is around the legislative efforts. One of the things that we should also highlight is the fact that we need to push for a gender equality bill that is going to break down what the constitutional expectations are with regards to the promotion of gender equality. We need to be more detailed and more specific in terms of the practical modalities that are needed to achieve gender equality in Zimbabwe. Also to add that with regards to men being left behind, when we are talking about gender equality, we are not talking about just dealing with the issues affecting women or female gender, but we're also talking about issues affecting the boy child, we're talking about male gender, we're talking about men, issues affecting men. So gender equality does not necessarily talk about women only. But at a Zimbabwean level, we are coming from a historical background where when it comes to gender equality, it is disadvantaging more women than men, more girl children than boy children. But it doesn't mean that we are leaving the boys behind, we are leaving men behind. We are saying by resolving the issues affecting our girl child, our females, our women, we are also trying to achieve gender equality by also making sure that issues affecting men or boys are also addressed. So we've got organizations such as the Zimbabwe Gender Commission. They have got male-oriented programs. We've got Vanapadare. They've also got male-oriented programs. We've got parliamentarians like me who are he for she champion. They've got male-oriented programs. They also engage different ministries, different NGOs, government departments to ensure that no one is left behind. Because at the end of the day, we are not going to favor any of the genders. What the Constitution expects us is very clear, that there must be 50% gender equality across the board. So in the process of balancing, we are not going to disadvantage, but we are going to advantage every one of us so that there is 50-50. We must tell everyone in Zimbabwe who is a man that if you really feel you are being left behind, reach out to the Women Caucus, reach out to the He4She Champion, reach out to the Zimbabwe Gender Commission, reach out to NGOs such as Padare and Kundleni Men's Forum. They have been set up to address some of these concerns where people are feeling men or boys are feeling they are being left behind. But that's not the intention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Molokele, He4She Champion, also a legislator. Let me go through the messages. This one is Honorable my fans, our fans, that's our Gogo, AJ, Dennis, and Gray. We are learning so much from you, Flora Buka. I think going forward, gender-based violence should be balanced. All along, men have also been abused in Zimbabwe, but all the men that are being victimized are suffering in silence. They cannot report to the police, for the police will laugh at them and cannot say it out to relatives. Let's also remove that stigma so that those men being abused can come out in the open. There are departments called VFU at major police stations, but due to the high level of corruption among police officers, all the gender-based cases are swept under the carpet. Sakatodi That's a listener concerned about the cases which die a natural death once reported. Good evening. My submission on GBV education in Zimbabwe is that can our legislators propose beer tax, especially those small bottles make beer expensive, towards reducing GBV? Ndichikarara Simon Buntare. And then we have another message here. Why do we still continue to say fighting gender-based violence against women and girls, yet statistics show that in 2023, 21 men were killed against 15 women, who then shall fight for men? And also, do we need to fight it or we need to address it? Ndibamnini in town. Those are some of the messages which have come through from our listeners. The platform is 0772162651. We are moving towards 8 o'clock and we have so much to discuss. But as the caucus, how does it raise awareness about GBV and promote gender equality within Zimbabwean society?
Thank you, George. I've talked the Pandambo Tangachara background, overview, Women's Caucus. We advocate even for the budget, it is gender responsive. So that at least tinobatsirane kuti kana tikave ma-gender responsive budget munyika yedu zvinotibatsira kuti tinobatsira even kuti vaya vanonge vari ma-victims gender violence vanowana pavanochengeterwa ma-shelters. We can also through those budgets create kuti kuve nema-workspaces akawanda emadzimai vagone kuzviitira. Ndiri kuda kuti nditaure kana kutaura zvamadzimai, like what Honorable Molokele said, kuti all along it has been the women who have been affected, but now the dynamics are changing. It's also the men, but some men, they don't come out to say hey ndarohwa inini anotonyara kuti ndonosvikosekwa ndimaona. But definitely really we've got men who are under siege from women. So what we are really saying, that's why the word gender doesn't necessarily mean that we are talking about women only. That's why I said in my beginning that we are looking at women, men, even the young boys and girls. And there's someone ataura nezvedoro zvandirimainder nyaya yema-drugs. I think we should work very hard to reduce drugs, because vanhu vedu, they are working under the influence of alcohol, under the influence of drugs. Mukatarisa the rate of which people are being killed nokudanana chete, a girlfriend and a boyfriend vachibayana. So you find that imwe munhu anenge achishanda ari under the influence of alcohol or of drugs. So we should try by all means to come up with awareness programs as much as we can to educate people that no, violence is not good at all. And I think as Women's Caucus, as far as we can go, is just on advocating for those changes, and also coming up in parliament with budgets that also makes us be able to source or to go down there and teach or make awareness programs, so that isu chatongopa information yekuti zvakadini zvakashata zvinounza njodzi nengozi mudzimba. So I think in short,
if you can indulge me, I'll read more messages, and then we'll do a final round, just a short round of the final words from you, honorables, because I think the listeners have responded so much and we cannot leave them hanging. Black Moses, Chairman Black Moses, they must be always on the ground in the community, not only becoming more vocal and proactive on air during the 16 days of activism. Hanzi rambai muchingonzwikwa, not just per 16 days apa. Violence iyi inonetsa kupera cause ukasunga munhu ari kukushungurudza uya wakutoita nhamo wese, cause ndiye anenge achiita kuti mudye mupfeke. That has always been one of the major points which always come out why sometimes people don't report. And hanzi semazimbabwe ngatiende kundoripota ndipiri pagwanda apo. Hanzi ask if they are doing something to prevent women from contributing to GBV, concerning that most violent scenarios are caused by all parties. Sometimes it is started by women, emotionally extending it to physical and other forms of violence. I could go on and on, the messages have come through, but let me go through just a short round of final words before we cross over to the news. I'll start with you, Honorable Molekele.
Yes, I want to encourage every one of us, whether male or female, to join the fight for gender equality in Zimbabwe. This is not a war between the genders. This is a common effort. So let's work together. Let's make sure that there is an end to gender-based violence, whether against males or females. But let's unite. That's the most important thing. Let's unite.
Thank you so much, Honorable Molekele. Honorable Buka.
I want to finally say that gender-based violence has become very difficult for people in Zimbabwe, and the cases continue to rise as you continuously hear people being beaten up, being killed. I want to urge all the women who face gender-based violence to go and report to Msasa Project for counseling, to the ZRP victim-friendly unit for legal services, and also to Zwala, and also encourage men to go to Padare for counseling and for other ideas. As men, they should never be encouraged, embarrassed that they've been beaten by women, otherwise they will lose their lives. If women have turned to beasts, they must be reported to the police. Don't be worried, men, about being laughed at least take care of your life and expose the evil that would have been done by the women. Finally, I just want to say, can people please support the Msasa Project, the victim-friendly unit, with resources so that they are able to support the victims of gender and to provide more legal services.
Finally, Chair.
Ini zvangu ndinongotiwo vateereri tinoda Zimbabwe yakasununguka, Zimbabwe yakabatana, Zimbabwe ine rugare nerunyararo. Violence yakashata. Vana baba, vana mai, vanasikana, vanakomana. Ngatisiyane neviolence. Rudo chairo rurimo unorutsvaga runowanikwa, asi upenyu hunoenda zvachose. Dzidza kuti kana warambwa enda unotsvaga umwe. Ngative tinobatana. Mashoko angu ndeekungopedzisira ndichiti Zimbabwe ngative nerunyararo, violence ngatiirambei. Ndo mashoko angu ekupedzisira.
This has been a special program brought to you by the Zimbabwe Women Parliamentary Caucus as we commemorate 16 days of activism against gender-based violence under the theme Unite, Invest to prevent violence against women and girls. And we had in the studio Honorable Maybe Mbowa, she's the chairperson of the caucus, Honorable Daniel Molokele, he for C champion, is also a member, Flora Buka, a caucus member. I want to thank you, our listeners, for sending your messages through. My name is George Msumba. Stay tuned to Star FM, sounding good all the time. And now it's time for the news.